My angels, it's story time. Whew, feeling kind of nervous, not gonna lie. I feel like, okay, I had it in my mind to talk today about actually the concept of divination. I have it in my heart, I have it in my notes and my study over the last couple of days to share with you about what that word means so that we can accurately apply it in life and with that discernment, etc. But I had all my notes ready to go. I was in the kitchen getting my coffee, getting ready to come up in here, and all of a sudden I heard, "Cher, I want you to talk about your dad." And honestly, it makes me emotional even saying it because I'm like, it was so clear to me. But obviously, I'm just going to be obedient. I'm going to talk about my dad this morning. And I just pray, Holy Spirit, that you would, like a loaf of bread, that you would break it and just share it out as needed. Take what resonates, I suppose, from this story. I don't know exactly where to begin. This is probably, come on, you guys, like talking about your own parents or your own family is like the most vulnerable thing that you could do. So my dad is one of the only people in my life, biologically, who is still in my life and who is a really solid and stable part of my life. And I'm so grateful for that. And there's going to be tears. I already know. He has cancer. And he's decided not to undergo treatment. So I'm just going to jump in. Okay. So I was standing in the kitchen making my coffee and I was looking down at my hands, and I have 2 tattoos on my index fingers. I have one there, it's a key, and I have one there, it's a heart. And I had these done a couple years ago because in that moment, I was doing a deep healing work with a therapist. I was seeing that I had major attachment issues, and in terms of anxious attachment issues. And what does that mean? Anxious attachment is when it's truly motivated by a fear of rejection, but more or coupled with that a fear of abandonment. What does it look like? It looks more like you're going to hold on for dear life to people, and you will betray yourself in order to not be abandoned, simply put, okay? So I was dealing with the reality that I had more abandonment issues, deeper issues than I knew. And it was so painful. I actually had to do EMDR because I had a memory that has played over and over in my mind all of my life, something that's on a loop in your mind. It needs to be brought into a reconciliation internally. It needs to be integrated somehow. So this story, I'll tell you what the story is, and this is probably why I don't want my dad to hear this, because I don't want him to hear me say how painful it was. But anyways, he's heard this, but I don't want to repeat it, you know what I mean, to him. But anyways, so the story is, when we had a very wonderful, wonderful life and upbringing until I was about 8 or 9. And then my mother had some very severe mental health issues, and drama ensued, divorce ensued. It was absolutely Hollywood movie, epic, kind of an acrimonious divorce that we ended up getting kind of kidnapped, essentially, me and my younger sister, and taken off. And so you have loads of trauma from all of that. But and my dad didn't know where we were for a long time. So I was in Oregon. I had been born in Idaho, and I was kind of living this reality. There was other things going on, lots and lots of just back to back trauma for a child. So I live in this trauma, and at some point my dad does hire somebody, and he, makes connection with my mom, and we do start to see my dad maybe once a year. Like, I can't remember for a long time. It was very seldom. We'd get driven to a spot. We would see him. It would be so horrible because of the stories that my mom had said to us about him, which were false. And anyways, and so we would go see him. We would come back, and that was that. He made a connection with us, but because I lived in so much trauma and this is like external and internal, by the time I was about 14, my mother had grown really severely suicidal, and it was just too much. And so I basically had to try to talk my younger sister into going with me and living with my dad. She didn't want to go, and she wouldn't go. And it was, again, one of the hardest lessons in my life. Anyways, I digress. I'm not going to go into everything. I'm just going to stay on track with my dad. So I have to go by myself at this point. Truly, my life was in danger, and I had to go live with him. I wanted to go and live with him, and I loved my mother. We had such a deep trauma bond that it was true. It was just, you know it if you know it, if you had to ever break away from something so deeply toxic. But I went and lived with my dad. All right. I was probably 14 when I got to his house, and my older sister had been living there with him. So I was now with my other sister, and everything was reoriented. It was absolutely mental. I went from living in like a trailer with like cops at my house all the time to living in a really nice suburban house, like what I'd grown up with, in a very elegant environment with a dad who was he was a chiropractor by training, but he'd gone into like holistic healthcare, just complete night and day. So I had no money I was suddenly driving a red Jeep, topless Jeep to school every day and wearing name brand clothes. It was just right. So my dad, bless him, tried. He just tried to pick up the pieces and give us structure. He had the best of intentions in his heart and tried to raise us from that point, or me from that point. Well, it saved my life, okay, definitely. But when you take in a 14-year-old child who's been through that much, you had better be ready for a lot of drama. My nervous system did not have a set point balance. I also had ADHD, undiagnosed, and didn't know it. I was intelligent, but I was dropping out of school. I had already dropped out at my mother's house, and my dad, obviously put me back in. I had put myself back in originally then. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the point of the story is he took in a teenager who was so broken, and he himself, you guys, I'm old. This is back in the day. People did not have like the healing and the resources that they have now. We didn't have YouTube to jump on and be like, what's going on, and he had healed, and he had moved on, and he had done the best he could, but he was on his own, and he did not have what it took to keep me or to help me heal. So I wrote a song about this. God, I wrote a song about this. Maybe I'll have to post the song. I haven't played it in a long time. Anyways. Oh, I should read you the lyrics. Hang on. Let me actually get the lyrics. Hold on. Hang on. I'm going to go try to find the lyrics to the song. I'm going to pause the video because this song will say it better than me, faster. I just picked up this is my old songbook, songs I've written. I put my finger in it. I opened it to the page. It's called White Stallion. This is so the Holy Spirit. Hang on. Oh my God. I knew I was nervous this morning for some reason. I'm not just telling a story about my dad. I'm going to be playing you a song now, apparently. This is what's coming to my mind. That's fine. Just be kind, because number one, I haven't played this song in, I don't know, oh my God, 20 years, My fingers are also freezing cold. So hang on real quick. Let's just see. Let's tune it up, Audie. I don't even know if my guitar is tuned. That's not nice. Okay, yeah, so I was a songwriter in my former life. Sorry, I also have nails. Am I going to be able to play this? Oh, music. Okay, look. I'm sitting here telling you stories. I'm telling you a story that is taking me 15 minutes to tell. This song is probably going to take me 2 to 3 minutes to tell the whole thing. Okay, hang on. My guitar playing is going to be absolutely shocking because I have nails on. My angels, I just had a really good idea. I'm taking you with me to where my piano is. We're doing this. I hope the sound's okay. Obviously, we're not in a studio here. My microphone isn't even. Alright, should we get this cord out of the way? It must have been so hard to have to lock the doors, to have to change the keys. I was a messed up teenager. Oh, it must have broken your heart when I stole your car, to have to tell the police that you didn't know me at all. That you didn't know me at all. And you tried to save me, I was too far gone. All of the damage had already been done. I found my own ways to go numb. But I'm better now, I'm feeling strong. And I'm sorry that you couldn't be my white stallion. Oh, 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 my white stallion. Oh, oh, oh. I still remember the night sitting in your room when I tried to tell you that I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop what I was doing. Still remember your words, baby, what can I do? I'll do anything at all, anything at all. But you didn't know me at all. And you tried to save me, I was too far gone. All of the damage had already been done. I found my own ways to move on. You tried to save me, I was too far gone. All the damage had already been done. I guess we let each other down slowly. I could not trust you, but you didn't hold me. Years go by, still one thing: a daughter never fills up the place where her father went. You tried to save me, I was too far gone. All of the damage had already been done. I found ways to move on. But I'm older now, I'm feeling strong, and I know that you'll always be my white stallion. Oh, my white stallion. You'll always be my white stallion. Do you know what? I'm not even going to watch that back for a minute. It was very emotional, and I had to just take a little break after. Guys, I don't know why I'm doing this about my dad today. I'm not trying to pull on all your emotional heartstrings, I promise. I'm not trying to pull on my own. I'm going to come full circle to the story that I shared. Now I know exactly why I started with that story. I know exactly why that's where the song, everything, like, involved with drugs and a group of people that were not safe for me to be around. And in some cases, I felt like the little ringleader. So it was just chaos, the pain. And if you've grown up feeling like the outsider, you run with people who also feel like the outsiders. We're all a bunch of orphans just trying to survive. Okay. That's the mentality. My dad had tried to intervene several times, lots of warnings, and also somebody else very close to me was actually stealing from him. And so he had the energetic sense that he was in his house. It was like there was nothing safe. I don't know. He must, like I said in the song, it must have been hard, but here's what happened. So it got to the point where I was like staying off school. And one day he came home mid-morning and I was at home and I hid in my closet because I was actually so ashamed because he'd told me so many times, but I came out and I just saw the look on his face. And it was, as a parent, when you go to a place where you see your kid has no respect for you, you try to not take it personally, but when you lose a certain amount of control, you don't know what else to do. All right. So basically, I must have gone out somewhere that week, or I don't know what happened. I can't even remember. But one day, not far from then, I came home and the front door was locked and my key didn't work. And I had to go and find a friend to take me to my dad's office so that I could talk to him and say, what's going on? And he had to tell me, you're going to have to find your own way now. I was like at this point I was probably 15, maybe 16 by then. 16 maybe, just coming up to. That was it. And my dad is, a good old boy from Chicago, Italian, like, sorry, kid, this was tough love to him, and this was, by the way, so long ago. This was in the day when people were telling you to give your kids tough love. So that was it. He wrote me a check for like $1,500 and was like, good luck. I choose to not participate in your life anymore. And not right now or whatever. I don't know how he said it, but that's what it sounded like, right? To my little self. So I went and I slept on the floor of a drug house, like basically a friend, her entire family was selling stuff. And it was such an unsafe environment. Emotionally, I was so divinely protected, but I'll never forget how it felt, If I was messed up before, there was something about this that just put me over the edge. And I just gave up on myself, really. But I remember one night I was laying on this floor and I woke up that morning and I heard in my spirit, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. And I didn't grow up with a faith. I didn't hear God. I didn't know God, nothing. I just heard it almost audibly. And I got up and I left that house that day. And I basically arranged to fly out to the East Coast, and I moved to where my older sister was staying at the time. And that ended up to be a whole other nightmare and all that. But anyways, I got out of there. I moved forward, and I was in a progression of heading towards a better life, but it was going to get darker before it got lighter. And the point of my story today is that I went through a period in like New York, Philadelphia, where it was dark. And at the end of it, my sister and I both, we hit rock bottom again. All right. And I will never forget not being able to call my dad, thinking there's no way I can call him, because after everything he's seen, this would be just total defeat. So my sister ended up calling him, and he got us plane tickets, and we flew back out to the West Coast. And I didn't even fly to where he was. I flew back to Oregon, where I had other friends. And I moved in with another group of people, and I lived in this apartment with a couple of people. And again, it got darker and darker and darker. And that is how the economy of awakenings and transformations in God work is. It is darkest before the dawn. And sometimes, and this is a message for someone, when you think it can't get any darker, or you have a kid and they're in darkness and you think, my God, sometimes it does get worse. Sometimes it has to get to a life-threatening situation for somebody to wake up, especially when you have a stubbornness or you're already high risk. You're wired with a great destiny. You're wired with leadership in your life. And if you are wounded, you can look like the biggest flippin' liability on planet Earth, okay? And that's why we have to look at people who are in addictions, who are in these dark places. We have to look at them for who they are. Sorry. We have to see better, okay? If all hell is coming against somebody, it's because there's something so beautiful on their life, okay? They're not throwaways. They're not, just like just too far gone, right? All right. God protects destiny. God protects destiny in people. And like I said, I should have been dead, so I need to land. All right. The script in my head for all of my life, until I was probably from teenager to probably 40, was my dad is my hero. I wish I could be more like him. I will spend my life proving, without knowing it, that I am worthy of his trust and his love. I will strive to be the kind of person that he would respect and he would love. And one day I'll get there. Okay? And that way of thinking was driven by a fear of the limiting belief of what I had learned about myself. That kind of striving mentality is about, I'm not good enough. That's what's really underneath it, right? And the script that I would tell other people, I would always say nice things about him, strong things about him, but inside, or if somebody talked to me long enough, I would say, well, he changed the locks on me when I was 14, 15, and that's my story, right? The lock and the key story, the lock and the key story. He locked me out, right? He shut me down, he abandoned me, he rejected me, right? That is the script that was locked in, hardwired into me through therapy, through the grace of God, using therapists, through my sitting in a chair every single morning, or sometimes multiple times in the day, and just sitting and just weeping over how it actually felt to feel the feelings, right? And the healing commenced, and God healed that pain of abandonment. And then he put a specific action in front of me that required me to choose something differently than I always would have chosen. And that too was painful. And it was coming to a moment where I had to say, somebody is just leaving my life. Every time something goes wrong, they're just leaving. It's just like opening that wound up every single time, right? I realized that I was in a dynamic where I was doing what I would have done when I was younger. I was performing I was being myself, but even if I was being my lovely self, there was something in the dynamic where it was like this person wanted me to prove myself. And it was so painful because everything I was healing from was stopping proving myself, believing that I was worth hanging in there for, staying with, right? And at some point, God basically pushed me to the point where I had to say, right, enough then. If you're going to go. Because I am enough. And no, I'm not perfect. But no, Dad, right? I'm not going to perform anymore. I'm a broken mess. But that's okay. That's okay because I'm worth staying for in my brokenness. I'm worth sticking around for. All this delicious loveliness that I am is complicated, and that's okay. And I don't have to try to be more mature than I am, or be further along than I am, or prove myself, or strive. I don't have to do that anymore because God's healing my heart. Okay? And I just kept showing up after that. Pain, beyond. I thought, oh my God, I actually truly, I'll never forget it. I'll just never forget it. But God has a funny way of putting us into moments and situations that trigger the deepest wound. But this time it was to show me that I was strong enough to stand on my own 2 feet. And I trusted God enough now. And this is why I'm telling you guys, healing is never initiated with you unless you're ready. Because God isn't going to tempt us. He's not going to bring us into a moment where we need to not prove to Him, but prove to ourselves, see in ourselves that we've changed. Okay, He doesn't take shortcuts with us. It's like you're going to have to walk back up to that fire if you really want to see what's in you now. And we want the fires to go away. We're like, just take away the pain, or worse, a lot of times we're like, the devil's after me or whatever. Many times it's just God saying, what you gonna do now? What's going on in your heart? You need to know this. I already know this. I know who you are. How's the healing that we're doing? How are you stewarding your thoughts? How are you speaking to yourself, right? How are you handling those moments? And it's just all healing. Okay, anyways, I'm going to get to the good part. So one day this was, let me think. Oh, my angels, this is what I want to tell you about this story, the most recent epiphany that I had about my dad and my relationship. But it was such a refreshing, it was like this thought came to me like a light breeze across my mind. All right. Just whenever it was, I can't even remember. It was just one day, not long ago. Here I had this narrative, right? The lock and the key. He locked me out. He locked me out. He locked me out. When I was living in Oregon, and I was, again, in a near-death situation again. My sister called me and said, Dad is coming. He is on his way. On his way. I was like, on his way where? To Portland? What? Right? My sister was living in a completely different state. My other sister was living in a different state. Yeah, he's coming. He's on his way. He's going to get you, put your whatever clothes you need into a suitcase. We're going to go on a trip. And I was like, what? Okay, all right. And I can't remember now, but I feel like for some reason, maybe she said we're going to go back and live with him in Idaho. I don't know what it was, but for some reason I think I did pack all my stuff that I had. And sure enough, oh my gosh, there is a true enemy. You guys know that in the spirit realm. And there are multi-levels of what we can discuss in those terms. Some people, especially people who have children who are gone, will tell you that, oh, there's a devil. Oh, there's a kingdom of darkness. As soon as this person tries to make an improvement. Some strange temptation will come, right? Just unfairly, and knock them off course again. So I am not enemy focused. However, I can tell you at this moment in my life, there was demonic interaction going on every single day as I waited, knowing my dad was coming. Okay. I had a strange group of people come to my flat one night and party with me, and it led to a 2 or 3 day like bender where, I mean, it was just crazy. And it culminated in me turning myself into the police because I could see, I was on drugs, but I could see these demonic entities and who I thought was the devil coming after me. My brain almost went over the edge. And I'm telling you, I ended up calling the police. They took me to one of the places where they check your mind out. Apparently I passed the test enough that they sent me home in a cab back to my flat. When I got back to my flat, I was so terrified because there was still like drugs in my system, and I was just paranoid, and I was just like, I'm sure what I saw was real, but I can't explain it to anybody. And that's what I had been doing in that mental health check with that doctor, who was asking me, who's the president? What year is it? I was like, you don't understand. The devil is actually after me. Like, that's what I was saying. It was crazy. I was watching people morph. Oh, it was bizarre. Anyways, okay. I get back to my flat and I'm like starting to see these entities show up in my flat as well. It was like there was nowhere to run and hide. And I was sitting on the couch with my roommate's older sister. And thank God for her. All right. I was going on about whatever, and she slapped me across my face. And she said, Autumn, you're on drugs. Just cold like that. And it was like it sobered me up just enough. I don't know why. I needed to snap into some kind of sobriety. And I was still scared, and all that fear was still just swirling around me. But I think it was a day now until my dad was going to get there. And I still remember the day he walked in the next day. I had slept off a lot of what had happened, but my flat smelled like weed. There was ash in the floor. I just remember it was like when people talk about the pig pen, the prodigal son, it felt just so beneath me again, right? And he came in, and I remember thinking, oh boy, here we go. My dad is like a holistic, like truly healthy, like health conscious. And I will never forget. And I'm going to say this because it's so beautiful, but I will never forget him coming in and me feeling so ashamed. I'm a grown woman now. I'm fine, but the narrative is different now. You see, this is where I'm going. He came in and he sat down next to me on the couch, and I remember looking across the floor with him, and I knew that he saw everything. Like, he saw the scumminess of it. And he did not say a word. And he didn't shame me at all. He covered me. He covered me. And he was redeeming his mistake, maybe, his move. I don't know if he thought it was, he never spoke about it. But he was doing the action of redeeming what he had maybe overlooked. I don't know. Maybe he opened his eyes and thought, gosh, she is young. I don't know what happened, but he covered me that day. And he just said, get your things. There's healing in our tears. There's healing in our tears. There's so much healing in our tears. Thank you, God. And I got my things, I had them together already, and I said goodbye to that flat. And the funny thing is, and the reason why I wrote the song White Stallion is because he was, I think at the time he was driving a white Land Cruiser, and it was such a beautiful big car. And I remember getting into it and just being swept up, rescued like a princess. And he swooped off and got my other sister, and he had collected all three of us girls. And because of what had happened, he actually took us on a beautiful trip. We went on this huge, beautiful trip. We went down Pacific Coast Highway. We went through California. You guys, I can't make this stuff up. It was like a fairy tale. And I thought, how is my life like this? It's just light to dark, light to dark, light to dark, right? God has always been telling a story with my life. And I know that now as a mother and an older woman, but I will never, like, again, it was like when I was just moving into his house for the first time. Again, here I am, all of a sudden I'm staying in nice hotels and we're driving in our, nice, beautiful car, and life with him was always so safe and so secure. And, I remember we went down to Monterey and Carmel, and I literally finished the trip doing English horseback riding lessons. I mean, what in the world? Just eating it, just beautiful. Like, it wasn't about the money or the materialism. It wasn't about any of that. I hope that makes sense. It was about him imprinting in me. When I was laying on the floor of that, drug house, right? Hang on. We were all an absolute wreck after this divorce, after this trauma that had happened to us as a family. But and we were all broken, including my dad. Everybody was all just trying to get by. But when I was laying on that floor of this drug house at 14, and I heard my Heavenly Father say, "You don't belong here." What came full circle was when my earthly father came and swooped me up, and the messages, he may never know fully what that did in me, but it was like, you're not an orphan, you're a royal daughter. Do you know what I mean? You're a sovereign queen. You are meant for this, not this. It imprinted an identity in me that held me fast through, I was going to need it. I was going to need it later. I was going to need to know who I was. And I still didn't know who I was, but I had a backbone. I had some kind of, because of how he treated us girls. He was a father of 3 girls, and of course he would have wanted a son, of course. There's sort of a thing, and I think most men that do. But I have to say this is a little bit of a side note, but for men who have girls, maybe you think you wanted a boy, and I get that. Maybe you really did. But let me just tell you, I felt like God was showing me something different about a man who can raise girls and raise them to be secure and strong and with faith, telling them there's nothing you can't do, okay? There's the sense of masculinity and security in him has been unmatched. He will always be my hero in that sense. As I said, he's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't want to put this relationship in this Disney light too much. Like it is a beautiful story that God's been telling through it, but he is not perfect, and I am not perfect, and we're just getting by like everybody, okay? But it takes a very secure man, is my point. It takes a very secure man. And don't question whether or not you're passing on legacy, whether you're passing on the masculinity that you're giving to your daughters. It will change. It will change generations. It will change the men they choose. It will change the generational line that progresses from that. There is no, I know there's a stigma around it, but just don't sell yourself short is all I'm saying. Okay. All right. In fact, I mean, even those mothers, if they become mothers of sons, right? If your daughters become mothers of sons, they will, who you are will be passed into those 2 generations removed, 3 generations. Who you are as a father will replicate. It will be passed on. I swear to you, not beyond what you can imagine, right? Because women's hearts, healing a woman's heart is healing the world. Women are emotional connectors. We are the glue, okay? Men might be the backbone. We are the glue. And a good father, a secure father who can pour good values and lessons into a daughter, the implications just are limitless. Anyways, I can feel the train pulling into the station. I'm getting low on fuel because it's been emotional today, but I hope that this story has blessed you. And I have to tell you, just to follow up, my dad is so strong and he's doing really well, and he isn't treating his condition, but he is doing all of the healthy, holistic things that a person can do, and he is still telling me things that inspire me. Autumn, everybody has cancer in their body. If people cut people open at the end of their life, they'd find cancer in everybody. It's like, that's his mentality. I'm not special, whatever, you know. I'm not saying if you have the desire to treat, please treat. Again, I'm not making health statements or claims or anything like that. I'm just telling you who my dad is, okay? And he just continues to inspire me, and I don't hold him on a pedestal anymore. It's kind of one of the beautiful things. It's not a pedestal, it's a relationship. We've been honest with each other. We've accepted each other's, downfalls. We still get into it sometimes, and we'll take a couple days and we'll just be like, because I'm so much like him. We're very, both of us have strong convictions. In fact, I may try to get him on the podcast because he's been, so part of his treatment in his clinic used to be acupuncture. He sent me this book. I was going to talk about this today. I was not going to do a song and all that. I was going to talk about this, but he sent me this book, Acupuncture and the Chakra Energy System. And I'll tell you how divinely connected we are. I had been saying in my journal time to God, like, I want to learn about all of these things that I didn't learn, that you wouldn't learn about in a church traditional Orthodox sense. I had a sense that people were leaving some areas, kind of no man's land areas, and I wanted to branch out and start looking and go, no, I want to know about that. I'll let my God tell me about that. Okay, so anyways, he sent me this book, and it was like I had said to him, I had just said, I want to learn about chakras. Boom, showed up in my mail. So both my heavenly father and my earthly father are here. They're moving on my behalf. They hear me. I feel seen and known. I feel healed. This is why I can do this channel, you guys, when I get on, and doesn't matter what I'm doing, where it's coming from is from a place of knowing what it feels like to be in an orphan mentality. I have to do things by myself. I'm afraid and I don't even know it, but I'm going to run hard. I'm going to survive. Ain't nobody going to help me. But like, I've been through all of that. I've been through all of that in a religious context, thinking that my identity was so different, but not, still carrying all of that inside of me. And then I've been through the deepest levels of healing, of where I know for sure what the keys to true healing are. It all comes back to identity, even on a cellular level. Okay, quantum physics, if you, the father and child being known and seen by your creator as a father, and feeling that as a child, not as a servant, not as a slave, but as a child. Okay, that is the most healing work that can be done in anyone's life ever, in my personal opinion. So I've been through that. And now what I'm giving you guys on this channel, and what I shall be giving for the rest of my life, is encouragement and support for your journey from a place of really knowing what the secret sauce is. I can't say it better, and I don't think I have the energy to try. So I'm going to leave it there with you. My dad also sent me this cool thing. I've been doing red light therapy. This is so cool. You do your chakras with this. Anyways, we'll get into that. I told you guys I have a series in my mind which includes all of this stuff. But I love you. I hope that this blessed you. If it did, please let me know. It's just been such a vulnerable share. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. You will be so encouraged and uplifted with everything that comes through here. Maybe a little challenged, but I'm here for you guys. Share this video if you think you know somebody who's going through a tough time with their own kid, or a parent who just needs a little bit of just hold me fast. I need some resilience. I'm in a tough space, or somebody who needs healing. Share this video with them, or share a clip of it, or whatever it is. I just want to get the good news out there. Okay, this is truly the good news. You're loved, you're seen, and you're known by your Heavenly Father. You are a divine child, and I'm your sister, and I love you so much, and I will keep cheering you on every day that I come on here. So, story time is over. Bye, guys. Bye.